Giorgio Armani is dead. Yes, the man who dressed presidents, Hollywood royalty, and probably your aunt at that one wedding where she looked slightly too elegant is gone. But Armani wasn't just another fashion designer. He was a one-man empire. His net worth? Over $9 billion. His brand? So big that even if you've never bought a suit in your life, you know the name. Armani became shorthand for luxury, like saying, Google it, but for tuxedos. And yet, behind the polished catwalks, the silver-haired elegance, and the effortless Italian charm, lies a story of obsession, power, control, and more than a few skeletons tucked neatly inside those made-to-measure closets. Tonight, we're pulling the perfectly tailored thread on Giorgio Armani's life, his rags to riches rise, the darker corners of the fashion industry, and the uncomfortable truth about what happens when a single man is the brand. Stick around, because this isn't just about one designer. It's about how luxury itself became a business of illusion. And trust me, once you see the stains on this spotless white shirt, you'll never look at Armani or fashion quite the same way again. Ready to open the wardrobe? Good. Let's go. The empire of beige, control, obsession, and a billion-dollar question. Here's the thing. Armani was never just about clothes. He was about control. Unlike most designers who eventually sell their name to a giant conglomerate, think Gucci under Kering or Dior under LVMH, Armani refused. He built his company like a fortress, and for decades, he alone held the keys. Sounds admirable, right? Independent, self-made, refusing to be eaten alive by luxury sharks. But here's the twist. Armani's independence was less romantic and more obsessive. Former employees have described a culture where nothing moved without Giorgio's approval. A button? He picked it. The shade of beige in the Milan showroom? Also him. The music at Fashion Week? Him again. It created a brand that was unified, disciplined, unmistakable, but it also created an empire entirely dependent on one aging man. And aging he was. Armani was born in 1934. Yes, before color TV. By the time most people are comparing health insurance plans, Armani was still backstage at every show, inspecting lapels with military precision. That's the paradox. His iron grip made the brand great, but it also made it fragile. Investors whispered for years, what happens when Giorgio dies? And now, we're about to find out. Because Armani wasn't just a fashion mogul, he was fashion's last great king, one who ruled until his very last breath. And while his death might look like the end of an era, it might also expose just how shaky the empire really is. Imagine billions in revenue, thousands of employees, hundreds of stores across the globe, all hanging on the vision of a man who, until last week, was still sketching jackets at 90 years old. The scandal isn't that Armani was rich or controlling, or even that he lived like a monarch. It's that he left behind an empire with no heir, no clear succession, and more questions than answers. Who inherits Armani? Who decides what Armani even means without Giorgio? Will the brand become another soulless line under LVMH? Or will it crumble trying to stay independent? It's the fashion world's new soap opera, and for once, the plot twist isn't on the runway. From war-torn Italy to the runway, Armani's relentless rise. Let's rewind. Before Armani was Armani trademark, he was just a boy from Piacenza, Italy. Born in 1934, he grew up during World War II. His father was a transport manager, not exactly couture royalty. Armani originally studied medicine. Yes, you heard that right. The man who redefined the suit started out poking at cadavers. Spoiler, he hated it. Blood wasn't chic. So he quit. He drifted through odd jobs, eventually landing a gig at La Rinascente, a famous Milan department store. There, Armani learned the nuts and bolts of fashion, literally as a window dresser. From arranging mannequins, he developed an eye for balance, proportion, and, of course, drama. In the 1960s, he started designing for Nino Cerruti, but Giorgio wasn't built to be a sidekick. In 1975, with his partner Sergio Galeotti, he launched his own label. Fun fact, Galeotti was also Armani's romantic partner. something rarely discussed at the time in conservative Italy. Together, they pushed Armani from a name on a sketch to a global powerhouse. Then tragedy hit. Gagliotti died of AIDS in 1985, leaving Armani devastated but also, some say, harder, more focused, more controlling. From that moment on, Armani threw himself into work with the intensity of a man building not just a brand, but a monument. And oh, what a monument! Armani didn't just design clothes, he invented a look, loose, soft suits that screamed effortless sophistication. He made beige sexy. He made men look powerful without looking stiff. Think Richard Gere in American Gigolo. That was Armani's global breakout. By the 1990s, Armani was everywhere. Armani jeans, Armani Exchange, Emporio Armani, Armani Casa, Armani hotels. If you could slap a logo on it, Giorgio probably did. And while critics accused him of over-commercializing, Armani didn't care. He was printing money. Yet behind the glamour was that same obsession with control. Insiders whispered about Armani's paranoia. He hated leaks, despised rivals, and reportedly fired employees for the smallest deviations from his vision. He never married, never had children. The brand was his family, and he guarded it like a jealous patriarch. But here's the kicker. Armani's empire wasn't built on endless creativity. It was built on consistency. While Versace was shocking the world with neon sex appeal, Armani just kept delivering beige, and beige apparently pays. Still, whispers followed him. Was Armani mafia connected? Rumors swirled in the 1980s about links to shady Italian financiers. Were his labor practices truly ethical? Critics pointed to outsourced factories in Eastern Europe. Was Armani too powerful in Milan, effectively running the fashion scene like a boss? He brushed it all off with that icy smile. Now, with Armani gone, those whispers might grow louder, because the emperor is dead. And sometimes, when the emperor dies, the skeletons finally climb out of the closet. Behind the glamour, tax raids, paranoia, and the succession crisis. Here's where it gets juicy. Armani wasn't just designing, he was empire building. And empire building, as history shows, often comes with interesting alliances. In 2016, Italian tax police raided Armani's offices, accusing the company of parking 250 million euros in a Swiss subsidiary to dodge taxes. Armani settled, of course, without admitting wrongdoing. But come on, when your beige suits are sold for thousands of dollars, you don't exactly get audited for fun. Then there's the succession question. Armani himself admitted in interviews, "I am alone. I created everything myself, and I cannot delegate translation. After me, good luck." In 2016, he announced that his charitable foundation would oversee the company after his death. Noble? Sure. But fashion isn't run by committees. It's run by visionaries. And unless that foundation suddenly discovers a new Giorgio, Armani S.P.A. could become a soulless zombie brand. And let's not forget the workplace culture. Armani was infamous for his my way or highway attitude. Employees described the office as monastic, where even laughter was frowned upon. That's one way to keep people focused or traumatized. So what happens now? Investors are circling like vultures. LVMH, Kering, Richemont, all the luxury giants would love a slice of Armani. But will the foundation sell out, or will they cling to independence, slowly starving the brand of relevance until it becomes the next Bally, a once great name collecting dust? Armani's death might be fashion's biggest acquisition story of the decade, and in the cutthroat world of luxury, nothing stays elegant for long. Luxury as illusion, why fashion empires die with their kings. So what's the bigger picture? Armani's story isn't just about one man in perfectly tailored trousers. It's about the myth of fashion itself, the idea that luxury is eternal, timeless, immune to decay. Spoiler, it's not. Fashion empires are like cults. They thrive as long as the guru is alive. Coco Chanel, Gianni Versace, Karl Lagerfeld. Once they die, the brand either reinvents or withers. Armani fought tooth and nail to stay independent, but by doing so, he may have doomed his empire to die with him. It's the paradox of legacy. The more tightly you hold it, the more fragile it becomes. Armani spent his life insisting his name meant something, but now that name will be sliced, licensed, repackaged, and Instagrammed until it barely resembles the man behind it. Luxury, after all, is an illusion. A $5,000 suit isn't about fabric. It's about selling you a dream. Armani mastered the illusion better than anyone. But illusions fade when the magician exits the stage. The Armani empire without Armani, a brand on the brink. As the tributes pour in, glowing obituaries, celebrities posting old photos, glossy magazines calling him immortal, the reality is setting in. Giorgio Armani, the man, is gone, and Giorgio Armani, the brand, is suddenly vulnerable. The Armani Foundation is now the custodian of billions in assets. But can a non-profit really steer a fashion empire? Without a charismatic leader, will Armani devolve into another watered-down label sold in outlet malls? Already, fashion insiders are whispering. Who will step in? Will a star designer be parachuted in to save Armani? Or will the sharks of luxury conglomerates finally swallow it whole? One thing's for sure. The Armani you knew is over. What comes next might carry the same name, but it won't carry the same soul. And maybe that's the final irony. Armani built his empire on control. Every seam, every shade, every show. In death, he loses the one thing he never surrendered in life: control over Giorgio Armani. The hidden dirt of luxury, legacy, illusion, and what comes next. So, here we are. Giorgio Armani, the boy from Piacenza who became a billionaire, a global icon, a living symbol of elegance. His death marks the end of an era, but it also raises the question, what is luxury without its architect? Armani's life was a paradox. Disciplined yet obsessive, timeless yet stubborn, independent yet fragile. He gave us beige suits, velvet jackets, and the dream of effortless Italian glamour. But behind the dream was a man who couldn't let go. And in not letting go, he may have set his empire up for collapse. Maybe that's the hidden dirt of fashion. Behind every glossy runway show is a fragile ego, a fragile system, and an illusion that could unravel with a single death. But what do you think? Will Armani live on, stronger than ever? Or will it fade into a museum piece, another relic of fashion's golden age? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed peeling back the silk lining on Armani's empire, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because next week we're digging into another untouchable industry that's not as clean as it looks. Until then, remember, fashion fades, but dirt lasts forever.